This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
The X-Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell is largely an opinion talk show. All opinions, comments, or statements of fact expressed by Rob McConnell's guests are strictly their own and are not to be construed as those of the X-Zone Radio Show or endorsed in any manner by Rob McConnell, Relmar McConnell Media Company, the X-Zone Broadcast Network, its affiliated networks, stations, employees, or advertisers.
All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X-Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
And welcome to the X-Zone, everyone. My name is Rob McConnell, and for the next 4 hours, I am your host. I am your guide as together we cross the time-space continuum to this place that I call the X-Zone. It's a place where people dare to believe and dare to be heard. It's a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. And the X-Zone comes to you Monday through Friday from 11 p.m. Eastern until 2 a.m. Eastern. Right here on the X-Zone Broadcast Network and our family of broadcast affiliates right around the world. If you'd like to send an email, studio@xzoneradiotv.com, on all social media sites, X-Zone Radio TV, and our radio website at www.xzoneradio.com. X-Zone Nation, my first guest tonight is Konstanza Morning Star. She is a certified medium based in Silver Spring, Maryland. She is the author of the book Medium, a step-by-step guide to communicating with the spirit world. She brings comfort to the bereaved, facilitates healings on both sides of life, and guides clients through thorny life situations through evidential mediumship readings and seances in person, over the telephone, and via Skype. She has taught mediumship development in the greater Washington, D.C. area since 2009 and offers a weekly development circle in Silver Spring, Maryland. She is also an ordained spiritual minister and a national spiritualist teacher. She holds an MPH degree and a BA degree in sociology from Tulane University. Joining me now is Konstanza Morning Star. And Konstanza, welcome to the X-Zone.
Thank you for inviting me to your show.
It's great having you with us. What was it that happened, or what pointed you in the direction of the spiritual and mediumship work you're doing today as a young lady?
Well, I think I always had how should I put it? I think I always was drawn to mysticism, and I've had a lot of mystical, spiritual experiences over the course of my life, but I had no idea ever that I was going to be a medium. Really? And what happened is I did perceive the spirit people at a young age, but at some point I just wanted it to go away because I didn't know what it was, and I didn't know why kids in school were teasing me. So I wished it away, and it was gone for 30 years. And then one morning, years ago, I think in 2001, my deceased grandmother appeared at the foot of my bed in the middle of the night at around 4 o'clock in the morning. And I sat up in bed, and I saw her with my eyes wide open, as clear as day. And she looked younger than I remembered her. She actually looked like a girl, like she was about 10, 11, or 12 years old. which struck me as very odd. But then after that, I continued to have more experiences with deceased spirit people. And after a while, I started to go to a spiritualist church to learn more about it. And I learned that the spirit people will often present themselves in the way that shows them at the time of their life when they were happiest. And in my grandmother's case, that made a lot of sense because her entire family, except for her father, they all died either during World War I or during the influenza epidemic in 1918. Yeah, so from age 12 onward, it was just her and her father, and 6 or 7 brothers were gone. Her mother died in the epidemic. So she really was never the same person again after that experience. So it makes a lot of sense that she would have shown herself at an age when she was still a little girl and the family was still intact.
It certainly does. Constanza, please stand by. You and I have to take our first break of this hour. Exonation, our guest this hour is Konstanza Morning Star. Her website is, do you have your pencils and paper ready? All right. silverspringoflight.com. That's www.silverspringoflight.com. As you can tell, I'm still battling this darn summer cold, but I'll be back on the other side of this break as we continue live and around the world from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Whatever you do, do not go away. More to come.
This is Kevin Randall. For nearly 30 years, I have been investigating the case of the Roswell UFO. I have interviewed hundreds of people and stood on the crash site. Now in Roswell in the 21st century, I have reviewed dozens of hours of audio and videotaped interviews, examined hundreds of files that relate to the crash, and have returned to Roswell in an attempt to put all that information into the proper perspective. For the first time in Roswell in the 21st century, I have made a dispassionate reevaluation of all that material and provide a new look at what happened. This is a book that clears away all the clutter that has hidden the truth for so long, strips away the various lies that surround the case, exposes the Air Force attempts at cover-up, and found a core of solid information that tells us all where the case stands today. Roswell in the 21st century will be available in just a few weeks. For more information, please visit my website at www.kevinrandall.blogspot.com.
Gibbs A. Williams, Ph.D., is a practicing psychoanalyst, supervisor, researcher, and author in New York City. Much of his life has been dedicated to understanding nature and the uses of meaningful coincidences or synchronicities. His radical and original non-Jungian, non-mystical, non-magical theory of synchronicities illuminates much of the fog surrounding this challenging and perplexing topic. His ideas and manners are fresh, presented in a style that is both entertaining and highly informative. He is also an expert on crisis intervention, specially focused on violence reduction for the police and citizens, mastering anxiety, frustration, and stress without the use of medication, and effectively preventing and treating heroin addiction. Dr. Williams can be contacted at his email address at gwwilliamsny11@aol.com or visit his website at www.drgibbswilliams.com.
Shamanism is recognized as a method to access the quantum level. Mastery of shamanic skills puts spiritual information and healing power into your hands. Path Home Shamanic Art School, a bonded Colorado certified occupational school, has met rigorous state standards, ensuring its director and instructors have the qualifications to teach the shamanic arts. Path Home offers its certification program in blocks of study. Block 1, a 5-day intensive, will be held in the beautiful mountain town of Coaldale, Colorado, October 13th through 18th. Registration deadline is September 12th. Experience Journey Trance, Power Animals, Helping Spirits, Sacred Space, and Life Purpose. Come discover your power. Join me, Gwilda Wiyaka, in the magical world of shamanism. Call 303-775-3431 or visit findyourpathhome.com.
And welcome back to the X-Zone. I am Rob McConnell. We're coming to you live and around the world from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. We're talking to Konstanza Morning Star this hour here in the X-Zone, and her website is silverspringoflight.com. Now, Konstanza, how would you best define mediumship?
Mediumship is a person's ability to communicate with the people in the spirit world. So in other words, it's the ability to make the connection with deceased spirit people. I should say with deceased people.
Right.
Sorry about that.
No problem. When you're doing your mediumship, is there a difference in the way that you connect with spirit, whether you're being a medium or when you're conducting a seance?
No, there really is absolutely no difference. And what I call a seance is simply a group reading. And the format is always the same. I open with prayer, and then I connect with the spirit people, and I describe everything that I see and hear and sense and feel from the spirit side of life. So however the spirit people present themselves, how they look, what physical conditions they're making me aware of, emotional conditions, what they did in life, how they're related to the sitter, all of these things are called evidence, and I just report everything that they're making me aware of.
What was it like for the first time when you did a mediumship or a seance? How did you feel that you were able to connect with those loved ones on the other side and bring some closure to those who were left behind?
Yeah, it is a very good feeling being able to help people find closure, because death is something that is just so hurtful to everyone, and people grieve and suffer, and everyone who's experienced knows how painful it is, and it's just so wonderful for people to know that their loved one is still alive and well. But in order for them to know that, I have to do a good job with my work in bringing through a lot of evidence, a lot of details about the spirit person that I couldn't possibly know unless they were indeed right there communicating with me.
I understand that prayer plays an important part of the role in developing mediumship, and I was wondering if you could explain why.
Well, first of all, prayer is protective. You always want to invoke divine presence because you want the highest and the best to come through in the reading. And so you're setting the framework when you begin with prayer. And the prayer, of course, also helps set the client, the recipient, at ease, because people often have never been to a medium before, so they don't really know what to expect. So when you open with prayer, it makes everyone feel that everything is in the right place. We do pray to God, and it just sets a good stage. And for me, the opening prayer also very much helps as a trigger to basically put me into that frame of mind where I can perceive the spirit people. So for me, the gates to opening up, they're very much closed until I make that opening prayer. And then with the opening prayer, I open up and the spirit people come in. And at the end of the reading or seance, I close with prayer. And with that, they disengage and they just go back to to their homes in the spirit world, and I get on with my day.
Let me ask you this. In today's society, there are multiple religious philosophies. Does it matter which religious philosophy a person follows when it comes to helping to get the information from the other side?
I don't really think that it matters. I think mediumship very much is a gift from God that's given to us so that we can bring comfort to people and so that we can also make better decisions in our own lives. And I don't think that it matters what background or what beliefs a person holds. I don't think that matters at all. I think all the different religions, they all touch on the divine, and they're all different ladders of getting to God. So I don't really think it matters which ladder we climb.
Exonation, Konstanza Morning Star is our guest, www.silverspringoflight.com. What are the big 6 spiritual senses, and how would you define them, Konstanza?
Okay, the first one is clairvoyance, and that is the ability to perceive the spirit people visually. And what I mean by that, usually you would perceive the spirit people in your mind's eye. For the most part, you wouldn't perceive them with your eyes wide open, except on a few occasions, but you would just perceive them clairvoyantly in their mind's eye. And the next one is clairaudience, and that is the ability to hear the sounds and the voices from the spiritual realms. In other words, the voices of the spirit people. And the next one is clairsentience. And clairsentience can be feeling either the emotions and or the physical conditions of the spirit people. And underneath that, you also have clairolfaction, which is the ability to smell the scents and smells and fragrances from the spirit world. And there's also clairgustation, the ability to taste the foods that the spirit people like to eat when they were still here on Earth. And of course, there's also something called claircognizance. And claircognizance is basically just a very clear and sudden knowing of what the spirit people want to communicate. And you know it with such certainty, it just comes in in a flash. It's right there, and it just pops right out of your mouth.
Is a person born with the spiritual sense, or can this be developed through training and through meditation and through spirituality itself?
Both. I do think we all are born with the ability to communicate with the spirit world. We all have physical senses, and we all have spiritual senses. The only problem is that in our society, usually we aren't taught to pay attention to the spirit side of life. In fact, usually we're told there is no such thing as the spirit world, and we have a rich imagination if we think that there is something beyond the physical life. So most people really aren't trained to pay attention. So it is something that children often perceive naturally until they start to unlearn it by going to school and by having their experiences dismissed. But it is something that people can learn again and reconnect with through practices like prayer and a daily meditation, and of course participating in a development circle where people meditate in a group for the purpose of connecting with the spirit people.
What's the difference between a career psychic and a regular psychic? I suppose a career psychic gives psychic readings for a business, whereas I think just a regular psychic, I think everyone is psychic to some degree. I really truly think that we all are psychic. I just think that people often don't know what it is and they don't know how to recognize it. So I'd say that a regular psychic is probably just an ordinary person who receives flashes of insight and guidance, or who happens to be at the right place at the right time through coincidence in their own personal private life. Would you say that everyone requires a spiritual development circle, or is this just for advanced members of the psychic and spiritual community?
Well, if you want to develop your mediumship or if you want to develop your psychic gifts, it is very, very helpful to sit in a circle. Indeed, for mediumship, it really is a requirement, simply because just meditating on your own only gets you so far. And that is true for people even if they have very good natural gifts to begin with. The example that I like to use is Beethoven and Mozart. Obviously, they had a lot of musical ability to start with.
Very true.
However, they did have to learn to play instruments. They did have to learn to play the music, and they had to practice, and they also had to learn how to compose music. So just because you're gifted in an area doesn't necessarily mean that you don't need any training. So if mediums want to be able to develop their gift to the highest ability, sitting in a circle and taking classes with mediums who are knowledgeable really is a must.
So what is the main purpose or function of the circle?
You get together, you open with prayer, and you meditate together. And it depends on what people like to do. In my development circle with my students, we do different exercises in conjunction with the meditation. But basically, you meditate. And when you sit together in a group, the spiritual energies are amplified. And it just gives our spirit helpers the opportunity to work with each of us in a more profound way. And it just really helps open up our gifts, our abilities so much faster than if we try to do it on our own.
When you're in the circle and you're putting out the thoughts or the intentions, who replies?
When you set the intention to communicate with the spirit world, the spirit people come in. In my invocation, I always make sure that I invite in our spirit loved ones and our spirit teachers and helpers, simply because I just want to make sure that the people who come through are people that are going to be recognized and who are going to be beneficial and positive and helpful to everyone's development.
Is there any chance that when you open up this intention that a negative spirit or negative entity may cross the threshold? And if so, how do you protect yourself and those that are in the circle against the negativity or the evil?
Well, first of all, when you open with prayer, you are absolutely protected.
Okay.
And if people wonder about that, they can also just simply ask for protection. There are different schools of thought on the subject of protection. Some people say if you ask for protection, you say that there is something that you need to be afraid of, and with that you invite the negative in. Other people just say, you know what, I make my prayer and that takes care of everything. I'm of that school of thought, but I think everybody has to do what feels right for them. In my experience, when I make that prayer, there is absolutely nothing harmful that comes through. Is it possible that a troubled spirit comes through? Is it possible, for example, if I'm in a group with people and someone perhaps was very disturbed or committed suicide or was not a good person in life, is it possible that they might come through? Yeah, absolutely, it's possible. It could be that they want to come in to make amends with the person who's sitting in the group. But to me, that's not a negative person. It's just a person who had a lot of problems in life, and now they come through in order to talk about it or to make amends.
All right, Konstanza, please stand by. You and I have to take our break. Exonation, Konstanza Morning Star is our very special guest. She is a certified medium based in Silver Springs, Maryland. Her website, www.silverspringoflight.com. This is the X Zone. I am Rob McConnell. We'll both be back on the other side of this break. Don't go away.
As host of Dialogue with Divinity, I am thrilled to join the X Zone Broadcast Network and their growing number of affiliates. My quest for a connection to the divine ignited my successful career path as an international spiritual counselor for over 40 years, and author of 4 books, and well-known metaphysical educator. My clients call me their spiritual mama. So my job is to offer you a radio show to help you grow spiritually with wisdom and get specific tools from guests who are experts in their field. Tune in to Dialogue with Divinity and be part of the conversation with Spirit. My goal, your happy soul. For more information, please visit my website at johannacarroll.com.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X-Zone radio show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, High Tech with Corey Kay, and every minute of the 24/7, 365 programming of the X-Zone Broadcast Network by calling 712-432-9459, courtesy of TalkStream Live. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan, and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 712-432-9459 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember, 712-432-9459 for the best of paranormal, new age, thought-provoking, sci-fi radio programming 24/7, 365.
Wouldn't you love to know the secret to everything? Well then, meet Dr. Kimberly McGeorge and her cutting-edge breakthrough knowledge that combines science with possibility. Dr. Kimberly brings real-life answers and healing to those open to alternative solutions. She teaches solution-based programs and classes that will change all areas of your life forever. Specializing in conscious creation, intuitive readings, and energy medicine, you can rapidly shift health, relationships, business, and money and abundance challenges quickly. Receive her best-selling book, Secret to Everything, at no cost by going to secrettoeverything.com/X-Zone. That's right, transformation can start now. Just go to secrettoeverything.com/X-Zone and receive Dr. Kimberly's book for free.
While science pursues fact, magic accesses the quantum level, bridging random facts to form truth. As long as science and magic remain separate and polarized, the truth cannot be known. I'm Gwilda Wiyaka. Join me on the Science of Magic radio program, dedicated to unification and evolution of consciousness. During each episode, I'll be speaking with experienced and respected scientists and mystics. From astrologers to astronomers, from medical doctors to shaman, the scientific method to dowsing and intuition, we'll weave together information from seemingly divergent practices to promote unity and enlightenment. Join me, Gwilda Wiyaka, and the Science of Magic right here on the Mutual Broadcast Network. For more information, visit www.thescienceofmagic.net.
I am Dr. Carl O'Helvey, founder, president of a new cancer foundation focusing on evidence-based physical, mental, and spiritual interventions, including natural cancer cures, prayer, meditation, affirmations, nutrition, and other related holistic cancer prevention and cure modalities. These are used in cancer education, research, and financing care. I ask for your help to continue this important work by donating at www.holisticcancerfoundation.com.
Welcome back, everyone. Konstanza Morning Star is our guest. Her website is silverspringofflight.com. So as long as you start your session or your circle with a prayer, you're protected. And if you want extra protection, all you have to do is ask for it. Am I right?
That's correct.
We live in a complicated world these days, Konstanza. I'm sure that you're more aware of this than most of us because you deal with the energies and the forces on both sides of the veil. How does what we go through on this side, something that we call reality, how does this affect the other side, the spirit world?
How do you mean? What do we do here? How does it affect the other side?
Well, there's a lot of trouble and strife in the world. You've got, North Korea just detonated a nuclear bomb. You've got the trouble between You've got the trouble between the United States and Russia, and then you've got the trouble between Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump.
Oh God, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, you are right. Well, thank you. I now understand the question.
No problem.
Well, usually when there is a lot of trouble here on Earth, the spirit people just try to help us. And they help us individuals through whatever is going on here. And of course, they still have an interest in what's happening with their loved ones here on Earth. And there are more highly evolved spirit beings as well, and they do want to help humanity, and they want to help the planet. So they do try what they can in order to help us.
How do you know if you're getting information from an actual spirit and not from your imagination?
Well, first of all, when I communicate with the spirit people, they have to give me a lot of information about themselves, and that is information that my client, also called the sitter can validate that. So the sitter will be able to confirm everything or the vast majority of what I'm saying. And that is the confirmation that it's not something that is in my imagination. The other thing also is if my imagination is working, there usually is some kind of an antecedent. And I can trace my thoughts back in time and say, okay, this is my imagination because I was thinking about that and that thought led to that. So now I'm thinking about that person because of what I thought of 5 minutes earlier. But when it's a spirit person, they just come in very differently, and they would just come in with purpose, and they would bring a lot of evidence so that it's clear that it's not just something that exists in my mind only.
I've heard of something called shifting awareness, and how does one go about doing it in order to connect with guides?
Yeah, that really is something that takes practice. As I mentioned earlier, for me, the opening prayer is what helps me shift the awareness. It just is something that comes with practice, and in part, what it depends on is that you have a good meditation practice behind you, and it's also the ability to basically relax your physical body as well as your mind. And then when you do that, when you give that invocation, with each word, it just seems like the veils just lift. That is how it happens for me.
Why is meditation so important to the progression and the enriching of one with spirituality?
Meditation helps us know ourselves, and it helps us understand ourselves. It helps us figure out how our own imagination works, how our mind works. It also makes us aware of what our issues are. And meditation, in the long run, it helps us it teaches us to tell the difference between the spirit people and our own stuff. And what it does is it just helps quiet down the mind so that we can receive more information. It basically forces us to sit down and be quiet and to be in a frame of mind where something can actually come through. Because otherwise in our life, if we work on the computer and we attend to our games on our cell phones and we rush to the store or we pick our kids up from soccer practice. We aren't quiet. We're not in a frame of mind where we're open. So meditation really increases our bandwidth over time, and it's wonderful for our own inner peace and peace of mind, but it really is essential for helping open up the spiritual senses.
So it's kind of like having your own internet bandwidth that you're able to open and close then.
That's correct. That's a very good analogy, yes.
Excellent. I understand that you also give courses and do workshops. What do you teach in your workshops?
I do. I teach mediumship development. I also teach a class on psychic development, but basically I just teach various aspects of mediumship, beginning mediumship, intermediate mediumship, working with spirit guides, psychic protection, spiritual hygiene. These are the different types of workshops that I teach.
What is the reaction of most people once they've taken your course and they are able to connect with the other side?
Yeah. Usually people are very excited about it. The people who are really serious about developing it usually also come to my development circle, and they continue to learn, and eventually they're able to connect with other people's spirit loved ones reliably and consistently well. And they then go on, if they want to, they go on and establish their own clientele of people that they give so-called readings to.
So how will a person know, Konstanza, if they're connected with an actual spirit guide or a lower astral plane entity?
Yeah, well, that tends to become clear rather quickly, perhaps not instantly at the moment when a person has that experience, but generally it becomes clear very, very quickly. For example, real spirit guides usually have our highest good at heart, and they also have compassion for other people in a given situation. So they will usually work to achieve win-win situations, and they can give compassionate insight into what's going on in a situation or with another person and how we can perhaps create better results for ourselves. Whereas a less highly evolved spirit, that's how I should put it, really wouldn't have any interest in that. They would basically just be interested in either teasing the person, giving false information, fanning the flames of disagreement, and in general they would be negative and they would create a lot of harm and destruction in a person's life. But usually it becomes clear very soon just from the tone of the conversation. I would always say, if you're in contact with an entity that purports to be a spirit guide, make note of what comes through, test the spirits, and don't really trust anyone just without questioning. Just like you wouldn't just trust anybody who walks up to you in a parking lot, you shouldn't just trust anyone who comes in and says, "Hello, I'm your spirit guide."
Right. I went through your website earlier today. I love it, by the way.
Oh.
I came across your question that, what are Litarian rays? Tell me about Litarian rays, because I found that very interesting.
Oh, I see. Well, actually, the Litarian rays have nothing to do with mediumship. They have nothing to do with readings at all. They were developed by the Litarian Institute. They're located in Arizona, and it's a series of attunements that's given in the form of a guided meditation, where the person who receives the attunement gets more closely connected with various ascended masters.
But wouldn't this also be of use to someone who wants to become a medium and then further themselves along in their studies?
Absolutely, it would be something that, in all likelihood, would be helpful, simply because it would help them establish an ongoing relationship with the ascended master that's associated with each one of the rays, and that master then is accessible to them in a closer way. So that is something that could be helpful. I surely don't think that it is mandatory for anybody who wants to become a medium. Really, in order to develop mediumship, the nuts and bolts really are meditation, prayer, sitting in a circle, and living your life in a good way.
Besides communicating with those on the other side and those who have passed on, how can mediumship help a person in their day-to-day life?
Well, that now you're talking about the message that the spirit people would bring in a reading. So after I connect with the spirit people and they brought a ton of evidential information about themselves that I couldn't possibly know unless they were communicating with me, I usually say, okay, why are you here? What do you want to say? And there are times when they want to talk about whatever is going on in a person's life. Sometimes people come to me because they have concern about different areas of their life, and they're hoping that their loved ones might be able to shed some light on what's going on, maybe in a work situation or in a personal situation. So once we've got a good link in place, the floor is open and the spirits are welcome to bring through insight on something that is of concern to the client.
Is mediumship a good thing for young people to get involved with?
I think it requires a certain level of maturity. I don't know what you mean by young people.
Well, let's say 10 years of age and up, as they're entering into puberty.
Yeah, I would. My sense would be, now I would say if they are if they're naturally experiencing spirit contact at that age, I do think it would be very helpful for them to learn more about what's going on with that gift and to also learn how to manage and to control it. However, if they're not aware of the spirit world, I would definitely not recommend necessarily pursuing it at that age, simply because the teenage years, our bodies go through a lot of changes, and there is enough going on already that I don't think we really need to throw spirit communication into the mix. So my recommendation would be, wait until you're fully grown up and you have a better understanding and you have more maturity about what it means to be a medium and how to manage what's coming through.
Good advice. Konstanza is our special guest, Konstanza Morning Star. Her website is silverspringoflight.com. And Konstanza and I will be back on the other side of this break as we wrap up this hour here in the X-Zone from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Don't forget, you can always send me an email, studio@xzoneradiotv.com. My name is Rob McConnell, Konstanza Morning Star, and I will be back after this break.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X-Zone radio show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, High Tech with Corey Kay, and every minute of the 24/7, 365 programming of the X-Zone Broadcast Network by calling 712-432-9459, courtesy of TalkStream Live. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan, and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 712-432-9459 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember, 712-432-9459 for the best of paranormal, new age, thought-provoking, sci-fi radio programming 24/7, 365.
Coming soon to the X-Zone Broadcast Network is A Different Perspective with me, Kevin Randall, as your host. We'll be taking a close look at what is happening in the world of UFOs today with side trips into the paranormal. Guests will range from those who are household names to those who have a different perspective on a variety of topics. No topic will be taboo, but there will be tough questions asked as we all search for the truth about UFOs, the paranormal, and those things that excite us. Sometimes we'll agree with a guest and sometimes we won't, but we'll try to keep the program topical. For those of you who would like to read, be sure to visit www.kevinrandall.blogspot.com and remember to listen to the other fine programs on the X-Zone Broadcast Network at www.xzbn.net. This is Kevin Randall. For nearly 30 years, I have been investigating the case of the Roswell UFO. I have interviewed hundreds of people and stood on the crash site. Now in Roswell in the 21st century, I have reviewed dozens of hours of audio and videotaped interviews, examined hundreds of files that relate to the crash, and have returned to Roswell in an attempt to put all that information into the proper perspective. For the first time in Roswell in the 21st century, I have made a dispassionate reevaluation of all that material and provide a new look at what happened. This is a book that clears away all the clutter that has hidden the truth for so long, strips away the various lies that surround the case, exposes the Air Force attempts at cover-up, and found a core of solid information that tells us all where the case stands today. Roswell in the 21st century will be available in just a few weeks. For more information, please visit my website at www.kevinrandall.blogspot.com.
What Happened in Benghazi is revealed by Nicholas Genix, author of Obama, Islam, and Benghazi. He informs the American people that President Obama deceived them by advocating a strong foreign policy prior to the 2012 presidential election, and Hillary Clinton supported this deception. As the title infers, there is a connection between Obama, Islam, and Benghazi. Ample evidence informs Americans that Obama's early indoctrination in the Quran developed an affinity for Islam, why the Quran is the source of discontent in many countries, and why the Obama foreign policy deception led to poor military action and caused the loss of American lives in Benghazi. Genix provides 36 questions for the Select Committee on Benghazi to validate if Americans are justified to mistrust President Obama and Hillary Clinton. An overview of Obama, Islam, and Benghazi is presented on the website www.futureofgodamen.com. That's www.futureofgodamen.com. Afterlife expert Roberta Grimes was the first one to say that dying can be fun. Now her best-selling book, The Fun of Dying, is available in stores worldwide. So if you wonder whether death ends life, how it feels to die, or what heaven might be like, The Fun of Dying was written for you. And if you have always been afraid of death, or if you worry that your life has no meaning, let The Fun of Dying ease your fears and bring new meaning to your life. Nothing said in The Fun of Dying is based on the teachings of any religion. Instead, Roberta draws on evidence to explain how death happens, how it feels, and what comes next. A lot of the best death-related evidence was produced in the first half of the 20th century. When it is put together with recent discoveries, it tells a consistent and amazing story. Roberta Grimes blogs and answers questions at robertagrimes.com. Her wonderful book, The Fun of Dying, is available on Amazon and at stores worldwide wherever books are sold.
Welcome back, everyone. Constanza Morning Star is our very special guest this hour. www.silverspringoflight.com. When you're teaching people, do they have an inapt ability to communicate? Are these people who seek you out for spiritual reasons? Are these people who seek you out for an inner guidance that they have no idea what is going on? How do you explain why people go to you?
Well, people come to me, people take my classes because they really want to develop their own they just want to develop their own gifts. A lot of them have had certain experiences that they can't really explain and that they want to learn more about. Some people are curious. Some people remember that there was a family member who had certain gifts and they think that maybe they have that ability as well. And some people just come out of curiosity. I've even had people who just accompanied someone to the class, and then the person who just went along as company did phenomenally well and discovered abilities that they didn't know they had.
Maybe you can help us understand what life is like in the spirit world.
Well, there is a lot to learn in the spirit world. Being in the spirit world, it does mean being in a wonderful place. And it is a place where we continue to learn and grow and evolve. In general, it's as beautiful as Earth, probably even more beautiful. My dad has told me that it seems like all the plants and all the flowers and trees that ever lived are in the spirit world, is how he explained it to me. So it is a place that is very beautiful, and we do get to make new friends. We do get together with the loved ones that we've been with in life on Earth, and we can learn things that we didn't have the chance to learn or do while we were here on Earth. So it is very much an expanded realm where we can also continue to be of service to loved ones on Earth, or where we can help disseminate new knowledge to people here in the physical.
Is there a difference between the spirit world and heaven?
The spirit world basically is heaven.
Then why is it called the spirit world instead of heaven?
Well, as spiritualists, that is the term that we use.
I see.
And the word heaven has very Christian overtones, and spiritualism is not a Christian religion. So, as a spiritualist minister and a spiritualist medium, we refer to heaven as the spirit world.
So it seems that there are biases and well, just biases, because you were saying that it's not called heaven because that's a Christian word. So do spiritualists kind of do they just say that we're neutral, we don't have any spiritual or religious philosophy that we follow? What does a spiritualist follow then?
Spiritualists, we have 9 principles that we follow. There is no scripture, there is no Bible, but we do have 9 principles, and they are posted on the website of the National Spiritualist Association of Churches. For example, the first one is that we believe in infinite intelligence, which is God. And the next one is that we believe that the phenomena of nature, both physical and spiritual, are the expression of infinite intelligence, and so on and so on. And we do our best to live by those principles. They seem simple, but they're also very complex, but they do give very good guidelines on how to live a good life.
What's the difference then between a religion, spiritualism, and a cult?
Well, modern spiritualism in the United States actually is a religion. And spiritualism was incorporated as a religion in 1893, actually. So it's been around for 125 years almost. So it's been around. And I never had anything to do with cults, but I would think that a cult is probably it's some kind of a spiritual or pseudo-spiritual phenomenon that just springs up very quickly, and that may or may not have a lot of spiritual qualities to it. So, and I think in a cult often, I think with cults often people really have to submit to a leader who basically sets the tone and tells people what to believe or not to believe. whereas with spiritualism, we are free to make up our own minds, and we receive our own teachings from the spiritual realms, and we make up our own mind. So there is no leader who tells us what to do or not to do.
So there's no God. There's no deity.
Absolutely, there is a God. As spiritualists, we believe in infinite intelligence. We believe in God. Absolutely, we believe in God. That is our first principle.
So what is the difference between your God and the God of Abraham, the God in the Christian Bible, or Allah in the Quran?
Well, that really is for each person to determine for themselves. If you're asking me personally, in spiritualism, God really is in everything. So there really is not a place where God is not. God is in every tree and plant and rock. God really is everywhere, and it's not something that is separate from us. We are all part of God, and everything is part of God. And people really have to find their own. People have to come to their own understanding, basically.
What are your ceremonies or rituals like in spiritualism?
Well, in spiritualism, if you were to go to a spiritualist church service, you would probably, most spiritualist churches offer so-called hands-on healing, where the healer connects with one of their healing guides, who then works through them to impart healing energy to the person who comes to sit in their healing chair. After the healing service, you would hear a lecture, a spiritually uplifting lecture about God or another spiritual topic, very much as you would in a Christian church or in any other type of temple. And after that, we have mediums who connect with the spirit world, with the people in the spirit world, and they bring evidential information for the people in the congregation. So in other words, if I were to serve on a Sunday, I would serve as medium in the last 15 or 20 minutes of the service, and I would connect with the spirit people of the people in the congregation. And I would bring as much evidence as I can possibly bring in the time that I have available, as well as a message or greeting, whatever they want to convey.
Once again, looking at spiritualism, and I'm sure a lot of our listeners are enjoying understanding what spiritualism is all about. You know, in Christianity, you have the Bible. In the Hebrews have the Quran. Muslims have the Quran as their holy books. What do spiritualists use?
We believe that truth is truth, and truth can be found in all of the other religions. So anyone who wants to study the Bible, the Quran, or anything else is very welcome to read that. But we basically have our 9 principles, and beyond that, it really is up to the individual to educate themselves and to learn. And of course, we've had over the last 160-some years, 166 years or so, there were a lot of spiritualists who published different writings, so that is available for reading, for contemplation, for meditating upon. But otherwise, there really is no holy book. We believe in communicating with the spiritual realms, and that we can indeed communicate with our deceased loved ones, that life is eternal, and that we can receive wonderful teachings and insight and wisdom and guidance and healing from those spiritual realms.
Konstanza, I want to thank you so much for joining us tonight. It's been a great pleasure talking to you. Where can people learn more about you? Where can they learn about your classes, and where can they buy your books?
They can learn about my classes on my website, www.silverspringoflight.com. And my book is available throughout the United States. It's also available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and Llewellyn, the publisher. So really, they can get the book anywhere.
It's all over the place.
Yes, it is.
Konstanza, thank you so much for joining us. Take care of yourself, and I look forward to the next time you and I meet back here in the X Zone.
Thank you so much, Rob. Thank you for inviting me today.
Oh, it's our pleasure. Thank you for sharing with us and telling us about spiritualism. It was very enlightening
You're
and very
welcome.
important. All right, take care, dear. Exonation,
Okay.
we have to take a break. I'll be back on the other side of this short break as we continue here in the X Zone with yours truly, Rob McConnell, from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, all around the world on the X Zone Broadcast Network. Don't go away.